Hashtag Trending would like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers a complete networking stack, wired, wireless, and cellular, in one integrated solution that's built for performance and scale. You can find them at meter.com/HTT. Big AI pulls back, OpenAI and Google tighten free access. The Supreme Court takes up a billion-dollar piracy showdown. Amazon workers opine that AI is making us easier to discard. And AI wrote thousands of peer reviews for a major AI conference. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Two of the biggest players in generative AI, OpenAI and Google, have quietly tightened free tier limits on their new image and video tools, signaling that the era of unlimited experimentation might be slowing down, if not ending. OpenAI's Sora is now capped at 6 free video generations per day. The limit was confirmed by Sora lead Bill Peebles, who posted, "We're setting usage limits for free users to 6 gens a day. ChatGPT Plus and Pro users have unchanged limits, and everybody can purchase additional gens as needed. Our GPUs are melting, and we want to let as many people access Sora as possible." Google is making similar moves. Free users of Nano Banana Pro are now restricted to 2 images a day, while Gemini 3 Pro's previously advertised 5 daily prompts have been replaced with a vague basic access statement. It's driven by demand and the strain on GPU capacity. For creators who've relied on the free tiers, this nudging toward paid access marks a bit of a shift, and a tribute to the popularity of these applications. It's clear the infrastructure costs are real, and the companies are making a point that unrestricted access won't last forever. A major copyright battle lands at the U.S. Supreme Court today, and it could determine how much responsibility internet providers bear for what their customers download, and there are billions of dollars at stake. The case centers on Sony Music and Cox Communications. Cox is one of the largest private broadband providers in the United States. Sony argues that Cox repeatedly ignored warnings, takedown notices, and evidence of ongoing piracy. At the previous trial, which is the subject of this appeal, jurors even saw an internal Cox email in which a manager wrote "F the DMCA," the digital copyright law. That moment helped fuel a billion-dollar verdict in 2019. That verdict was later overturned on appeal because of what were seen as flawed jury instructions. But now the U.S. Supreme Court will decide what standard applies. Do ISPs need only respond to infringement notices, or do they have a duty to actively curb piracy on their networks? It's an older question resurfacing while AI has been dominating the copyright debate. And depending on the ruling, internet providers worldwide may face new obligations that reshape the balance between privacy, enforcement, and their liability. More than 1,000 Amazon employees have signed an anonymous letter to CEO Andy Jassy accusing the company of abandoning its climate commitments, deepening its involvement in military AI work, and using artificial intelligence in ways that undermines job security. One line in the letter particularly captures their sentiment and their fear. Amazon is forcing us to use AI while investing in a future where it's easier to discard us. The letter, reported by the Times of India, comes from employees who say they develop, train, and use AI inside the company. They warn that Amazon's accelerated AI rollout isn't just rushed. It's part of a strategic shift that puts workers, climate pledges, and ethical boundaries at risk. A major portion of the letter focuses on climate. Workers say Amazon is casting aside its climate goals to build AI, pointing to roughly a 35% rise in emissions since 2019, and plans to spend $150 billion US on new data centers, many in drought-stressed or fossil fuel-dependent regions. They also criticize Amazon for opposing legislation that would have required its data centers to use clean energy, and point out that AWS continues to support oil and gas exploration. The employees also raised concerns about Amazon's growing participation in military AI programs, saying these initiatives contradict earlier public commitments to responsible technology development. And on the workforce front, they argue that AI is being introduced in ways that intensifies pressure, shortens timelines, and reduces long-term job stability. The full quote about being easier to discard reflects a belief that AI is not being deployed to support workers, but to replace them. Will it work? Amazon workers have influenced corporate decisions before, especially on climate, and they're saying out loud what many workers across the tech industry are thinking quietly. Even Amazon has to tread carefully here. There's been a lot of talk and some reports about AI not boosting productivity to the levels expected, and that will have some impact on the AI investment. But there's another danger now, and that comes from inside the company, not from external forces like investors or customers. It comes from employees who fear what this might mean for their jobs. And no AI company really wants to see that kind of employee backlash, especially in an American election year. The organizers of ICLR, one of the world's largest AI conferences, are now investigating whether AI quietly wrote thousands of peer reviews on submitted papers, while academics are raising concerns about hallucinated citations and feedback that sounded suspiciously machine-generated. To get clarity, the AI research group, Pangram, ran its detection tools against this year's submissions. The results were striking. 15,899 peer reviews were flagged as fully AI-generated. On the paper submission side, 199 manuscripts, about 1%, were identified as fully AI-generated. 61% were mostly human-written, and 9% contained more than 50% AI-generated text. ICLR organizers say they will now use automated tools of their own to assess possible breaches of policy around AI use in both submissions and peer review. Bharath Hariharan, Senior Program Chair for ICLR 2026, told Nature, "After we go through this process, that will give us a better notion of trust." It is a rare moment of irony. One of the top AI conferences is now trying to figure out how much of its scientific process was actually generated by AI. That's our show. And once again, we'd like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers full-stack networking infrastructure, wired, wireless, and cellular to leading enterprises. And working with their partners, Meter designs, deploys, and manages everything required to get performant, reliable, and secure connectivity. They design the hardware, the firmware, build the software, manage deployments, and run support. It's a single integrated solution that scales from branch offices, warehouses, and large campuses all the way to data centers. Book a demo at meter.com/HTT. I'm your host, Jim Love. To our American listeners, let the belt out a notch and back to work. And to everyone, have a marvelous Monday.